Hi there, my name is Stephen Bonner, and today what we're going to do is we're going to look at the appearance palette and the function of that in Illustrator. Okay, so the appearance palette is essentially the index or the contents page for each asset in your document. It allows you to go in and directly edit strokes and fills and effects without having to create lots of different objects and then overlay them on top. You can actually just create one object, apply these different effects to it, and it'll do the same job in one asset that you can then change and edit without having to go over and retrace your steps on lots of different assets and then sort of jigsaw them all together again. So it saves on file size, and it also saves a lot of time as you're working. Okay, so the appearance palette can be found in the window menu or by hitting Shift F6. And what will happen is if I just place a document on here or an asset on here, you can see that if I go into the appearance palette for this asset, there's a stroke that's set to black and it's 8 point. And right now that stroke is sitting just sort of aligned to the centre. And it's just got a plain white fill. If I click on the appearance palette rather than the stroke palette, I've then got the ability to change the colour of this stroke. I also have the ability to make it thinner, make it thicker, go into the opacity, bring the opacity down, and so on and so forth. Now generally what I would do is that if you're looking to change the alignment, unfortunately you have to still go into the stroke palette to do that. But it's a minor quibble, it's not a big deal. The fill does exactly the same thing. If I want to change the fill colour, I can go in, change the fill colour from here, add in a pattern, add in a gradient, do whatever I like. The next thing to look at with the appearance palette is if you try and treat the appearance palette as something similar to a layers menu that you would get in either Illustrator or Photoshop, each stroke that you add will work in a different way depending on which order it's in within the palette itself. In this one, I've added in 4 separate strokes. So the first one is at the bottom, and it's a 9-point stroke, but I've also added in a zigzag effect. One of the interesting things that you can do with the appearance palette is each instance of a stroke that you add in, or each instance of a fill, can have effects applied to it. So if you click on this stroke at the bottom, for example, you could then go up to the effects menu, and any one of these will work with that instance. In this instance, what I've done is clicked on the zigzag, and we could change that, we could do whatever we like with it. That is still part of the one asset that we've drawn. There's no extra assets here, it's the same asset just with different instances of a stroke applied. Okay. The next one, what we've done, the next stroke up here is a 16-point grey stroke. This is this little one here that actually looks like a very thin stroke, but because of the order of the layers that it's in, it looks smaller. So what we've got on top of that is a white stroke that's a little bit smaller, and then we have this smaller one again. And that creates this sort of offset diamond effect. So moving on, what I'd like to do now is just apply exactly the same idea as we did with the strokes to the fills as well. So firstly what we're going to do is we're going to take this white fill, we're going to change that to a light grey. So that's okay, but we want to add in a little bit more again. So we're going to go down to this icon here, add new fill. You can also do that by going to the flyout menu here, and you've got all the same options as add new stroke, duplicate it, remove one, clear the appearance completely, reduce it to basic appearance, which will take it down to a simple black and white as we had in the first stage. Okay, so we're going to add another one in. But again, because we treat this as a layers palette, we have to move this down underneath the strokes so the strokes are still visible. Okay, so again, if you just think of this as a layers palette, you can never really go too far wrong. So the next one we're going to add, we're going to go back into our palette, which is just a duplication of the swatches palette here. We're going to go into this one, add in fade to black. Again, I have to work in tandem with the other palettes, so I'm going to go to the gradient palette this time and change the values there. So we've got a nice top to bottom kind of gradient. And we're going to add another fill in on top of that one, and this time what we're going to do is we're going to add a pattern swatch on. And that's a little bit heavy, I think, so what we'll probably do there, go to the opacity, maybe change that to multiply and just bring it down a little bit. So that gives us a more kind of pleasing shape. Now, to edit this, I'm not too keen on the way this goes to straight black down there, so what I'll do is I'll go back into this gradient. I can then into the gradient palette and just reduce this a little bit, and that makes it a little bit more pleasing, I think. Yeah, not quite so harsh. Now this is where the appearance palette and the use of it really comes into its own, and this is where it's really important and really good for workflow. The beauty of it is that you can gain the same result as this here by traditionally layering different objects on top, you know, getting three diamond shapes there, using different fills on them, and then going behind them and adding in different strokes or bigger diamond shapes and getting the same effect. But if you then decided you needed to change that shape, you know, if a copy editor comes back and says like that needs changed, or that editor says something needs changed, or can you make it a circle, or can you make it a rounded diamond, that would mean redoing every one of those elements and redrawing them all. By using the appearance palette, what you can do is, as we mentioned earlier, you can go up to Effect, for example, and if we go to Stylize, Round Corners, and I've got a value of 10 in here. If we just hit Preview, you can see what happens is we'll get a rounded corner on every asset now. Now that will work for, let's say, 30 or 70. If you change that to a circle, then it's easily done, and you haven't lost any of the flow of the assets. It's done it in one step as opposed to having to redraw that, which might take 5-10 minutes. Okay, finally, one of the things that I find quite handy as well with the appearance palette is you have the ability that once you've created your style, you can actually save that as a style and apply it to anything you like really later on down the line. So if the client then returns and says like I would like that, but I would like it done in text, for example, then you can apply it. Okay, so what you would do is up to Window, Graphic Styles. You could also use Shift F5, and you'll see this will come in and it's got nothing in there. There's no styles to speak of right now. It's just this sort of default option. So what you do is you take your created document or your created asset, you drag it over. Let's call this asset, and that's now a style saved into your document memory. So what you can do is if you draw a shape comes in, click on that and it will apply it directly to it. The good thing you also have is you can type in some text and it will apply that style to the text as well. We just get a nice thick one. Because we have a thick stroke, we need thick type to hold the style. So we click on that again, and it's going to apply that style directly to the type. So there's lots and lots of handy little ways you can do it. Another really good thing, just very quickly, is if you're the type of designer who tends to take other people's work and have to make changes to it and do different things, a good way to deconstruct what someone has done is to actually click on their asset and then open the appearance palette, and you can see exactly how things were built. Which, if they want, for example, just the stroke to change, then the zigzag stroke, for example, you can go in, change that till the client is happier. That's obviously awful, but it gives you an idea. You know, things can be changed quite easily. You can change that from smooth to angled to cornered.